But it is 6 o'clock, everybody. Welcome to Feature Friday. So I have all my pieces cut. And once again, this particular block of the month that I'm doing is all done in batiks. Each one is. And that's what I have tonight. Now I'm going to swap my camera. Excuse me. And I have all my pieces laid out right here beside my machine. You can see right over here. I'll turn it that much so you don't see my mess. I'm getting ready to tear down the studio and reset everything. So yes, so here are all my pieces. So what we're going to do, we have 16 triangles like so. We're going to make 16 units of half square triangles. That's our first step. These are all based on a 4-inch finished unit. So what that means, when I sew these together and open them up, this will finish out, once it's all sewn together, 4 inches. Okay? The only other pieces other than this, this is the center piece. That's a 4.5-inch square. All the squares I'm about to show you are cut at 4.5 by 4.5 inches. The way I cut these this time, I got a new camera here for us to play with. There we go. So I cut these out in squares. This was originally a square, and I cut it 4 7/8 of an inch. Okay? And then I cut it from corner to corner. And then when you sew them together, that will give you the correct measurement for it to finish out at 4.5 by 4.5, which sewn together would be a 4-inch pieced half square triangle unit. Anyway, so there's this, the center block, the centerpiece. There are 4 of these golds. And then there are 4 of these pale lemon yellow batiks right here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to sew together all of the half square triangles. Now I have my machine set up. This is on the Solaris tonight. And whether you have the Solaris or the Altair or whatever, it's all the same thing. It's just a straight stitch. And I'm using the foot I have on is this one right here. This is the 1/4-inch quilting foot with the edge guide. Well, it's not showing up through that plastic too good. Let me get that cardboard out of there. Okay. There we go. Okay. It's a 1/4-inch quilting foot with guide. If I'm not piecing with a digital dual feed foot or with my serger or with my accomplish, this is the foot I like to piece with on the Altair or the Solaris. And here it is. The reason I like this one, and I'm going to tell you, look how wide it is back here. This foot covers all of the feed dogs on those machines. So you actually have better fabric control than with the foot that came with our machine. The one that came with our machine is perfectly fine. It will do the job. But I just like this one better because it actually is wider right up here, which means it's going to grip those fabric layers better as it feeds through underneath the foot. And just like on our J foot, it has the little black springy button on the side, which, as you know, if you press that in and hold it, it will lock that foot in place so it can go up and over a thick seam. So that being said, let's just get it attached back to our machine now. Here we go. Okay. And I have my guide beam set. The red line is needle drop. I have the green line set for the 1/4-inch mark. So that's my seam guide tonight. And all I'm going to do, I'm just going to chain piece these 16 units together. And what will happen once these 16 units are set together, they are actually going to form a pinwheel. Okay. There we go. Now, and we're off. Oh, I do have my machine set. The stitch is Q-01. Check it out. Q-01, and it is 1.8 millimeters in length. That's my settings. That's just the regular center position straight stitch. That's all it is. And here we go. And the term chain piecing, many of you I know this, but for those of you that are just getting started, what that means is you don't cut your threads in between units. It makes your piecing go oh so much faster. And if you're one who likes to conserve their thread, much less thread wastage. And this is a little trick I picked up back in the sewing factories in the 80s, was chain piecing. Yes, that is even used in the garment industry. Okay, let's get another one done. And I'm one of those people, I use my foot control instead of using the start and stop button. It's perfectly fine either way. That's just me. I like having my gas pedal down there to press on. And we're getting it done. And just by having everything laid out, it really does go pretty quick. I've already got over half of these 16 units sewn together. Now, if you've ever made a log cabin quilt, if you have, there are a ton of pieces. This is how I piece log cabin, is by chain piecing. Everybody, I'm going to cheat. I'm not going to press anything until I get the block completely pieced together. Hopefully the quilt police will not show up at my door and arrest me for skipping a major step. But I've gotten 2 of my quilts quilted this week for my customers for their Christmas. I have 1 more to go, and I'll have that quilted tomorrow. Okay, now we're off. Two more of these units. One more of those units. Okay. Now then. And I'm just going to pull this up and over this way. Let's see what I'm doing here. There we go. I'm just going to snip in between each one. Yes, I have that cutting gizmo, but I'm not exactly sure where it's at because I'm in the process of resetting the studio, breaking everything down for the upcoming virtual event for Sewing Machines Plus and all that fun stuff. It's always something when it comes to this studio, let me tell you. I know some of y'all can relate to me with that. Yeah, I always get it super nice and clean. Unfortunately, it doesn't stay that way. And no, there's some of you out there that can relate with me on that one. But I guess that just means, yeah, it's because you sew a lot, and that's why it gets kind of janky. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my little rolling gizmo here. I'm just going to do a quick little press, just so it lays nice and flat. And technically, I am pressing it so that the seam goes to the dark side. You can see there. Wonderful night light. Okay, so let me show you this here. Let's get these done. And then we're going to sew these half square triangles together to form 4 pinwheels. That's what we're making first. Then after those are done, the rest of it will go together fairly quickly. And with this particular block of the month that we've been doing, I based everything on a 20-inch finished block, okay? So there's going to be one more in this series, and then I will show you how to set them together to make a throw. In January, I will be having a new block of the month. It will be based on 12.5-inch blocks, and it will actually make a much larger quilt. I'm getting the design down and all that fun stuff. And what that will have in it, though, it will have yardage and fat quarters in it. And y'all will get to cut, if you're ordering the kit, y'all will get to cut your quilt pieces. For this particular one, I started with, this has been a learning experience for me, everybody. And the great thing about your fabric coming not pre-cut, there'll be extra fabric in there. So in many cases, you'll be able to make more than one of these blocks out of a kit. Each block of the month kit will not be a single block either. There will be more than one block in those kits. I hope that made sense. See how easy that is? I just love this thing. So having to get up and run to the iron and burn my finger, because I always do that at least once when I'm ironing. Has anybody else done that? Here we go. Almost done with these. But look how easy that is. Not using any electricity, no water, no steam. Just opening it up and running that. That's a little roller right there. Just running that right on top of that opened up seam. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay, 2 more to go. And I'm going to lay these out before I start sewing them together, because I'm really bad about getting one of my pinwheels in an incorrect position. And well, it bites having to rip that out, especially when there's so much bias in it. So there's my 16 units. And now I'm just going to lay them out. Let's see here. There. Yes, so they move in a clockwise. So if I had them all like that, a pinwheel when you lay one to the side, you're going to move it in a clockwise direction, okay? That's an easy way to do it. So there it is. Then it will move like that. There's that one. And it would move like that. So right there would be one of the pinwheels. I'm just going to line them all up. There should be 4 in a stack. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. That's 3. I can't count. 4. 1. There we go. Got to start out with the correct number. 2, 3, and 4. And 1, 2. Oops, that's not right. And 3. There we go. And 4. Okay. Now that I have my layout down, this makes it go so much quicker. All I'm going to do is pick up, I'm going to do this bottom half of this little unit first, and I'm just going to lay it together and feed it through the machine, like so. That would go like this. Nest those seams together. They're a perfect nest. See that? And then I'm going to come back over here and run these units together. So my first set of seams, I had 16. This time I will have 8 seams to sew. And by having that stitch length set to 1.8 millimeters, I don't have to worry about back stitching and tacking it off at each end. Since all of my seams will intersect, that will lock the stitches in together. And that one's all lined up. And the third set from that stack. Excuse me. And right here. And one more, that'll be the bottom half of them set together. If anybody is in the Cleveland, Ohio area, I want to give a shout out to Jan at Pins and Needles. Thank you, Jan, for the beautiful box of cookies you sent me for Thanksgiving. That was wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Greatly, greatly appreciated. Okay, so as you can see over here, that was the bottom half. Now I'm going to do the same right here. This time, these two will go together like this. Then I'll just bring them over here to the machine and sew these together. And then I'll do all 4. And grab the second unit from that stack. I'm going to repeat that 3 more times. After I get my needles started, I then line up the edge I'm going to. Line up that corner, get it started. And I always sew whenever I stop my machine, my needle is in the down position. That gives you like a third hand, because now the needle will hold it in place while I line up this area right down here. And one more of those. Excuse me. And there are those. And let's cut that. We're going to come back over here and snip them. Okay, so, and I'm going to snip them and keep, this is my top half. There's 4 units in the top half, 4 units in the bottom half. Okay, now I'm going to roller press these seams open. Looks pretty darn good, if I do say so myself. As you can see, it would be beneficial, if possible, to open that seam up. Let's see if it will even let me do it. Simply because there's a lot of bulk there. Well, you know what? It's not. That's something I would really need to do in iron. So it'll be okay. It'll be okay. Let's see here. That goes. Anyway, let's just get these open, then we'll get them arranged again. Okay. It just helps them lay nice and flat. All that fun stuff. And I am making sure that the seam is going to the dark side, so that would be this side here. So notice there's a seam coming to that dark side. Now I'm going to do the same thing with these. There we go. Another plus to using a little piecing roller is what I call this little tool, is that you don't, and especially because all of these angles, so these are all on the bias and it stretch out easy. At least you're not going to stretch it out and distort these pieces with a big heavy iron or steam iron while you're actually doing the piecing. That's another plus to using one of these. Okay, so now then, nope. You could actually put these in several different directions, but here's the one that we want right here. There's my points all coming to the middle. Check it out. Here we go. So now, all I'm going to do, since here's my next seam line, I only got 4 more seams to go. I'm just going to pick up one of these, flip it right on top like this, Get that first corner lined up. Then I'm going to get it under the needle. And we're going to get these 4 pinwheel units finished. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to nest the seams right here. These seams are going that way, and underneath, these seams are going in the opposite direction, so that does help reduce bulk. Let's get that going. I'm going to cut this so we can have a quick look at it. There we go. There's one of our little pinwheel blocks. And I'm happy with that. That had a nice sneak right there in the center. It's all good. What I will do, once I get these done, when I go to the ironing board, after the entire block is assembled, I will gently put my iron right down on top of this and hit it with steam. Just straight down and straight back up, and that'll help that lay so much. It'll make it lay nice and flat without stretch. Because here we have 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 bias lines. The bias line in a fabric is extremely stretchy. And boy howdy, if you're not careful, it can get you in trouble. And we don't want that. Sewing is supposed to be fun, and that's what we're here. We're having fun. So we're not going to worry about that. Okay. Got that lined up. Nested that seam. When I get all that bulk right there, I'm going to slow up as I come over it so nothing shifts and everything stays lined up. Okay. Let's cut that one. Open it up. There we go. Number 3. As you can see, those guidelines, those laser seam guidelines on these machines really make it easy to line everything up when you're piecing, or sewing in general as far as that goes. Here's number 4. Come on, you. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to stop that one because that was trying to crinkle underneath me. I did not want that. That's a lot of bulk right there. Okay. Now then. These are some cute little thread snips I've had for a long time. These are Ginger. Super sharp. I have cut myself for them. That's how I know that. Yeah, you know you've got good sharp scissors when you bleed. It's all good. I'm just going to roly press these open. And guess what? That's the hardest part of this particular block. Are the pinwheels. And once you get the knack of making half square triangles, there is so many different designs you can do using half square triangles. Okay, that one was super bulky. And this is one thing, another little tip I will give everybody. When you're actually quilting a quilt that has a bunch of pinwheels in it, you really don't want to put a needle here in the center of a block because there's so many layers of fabric right there. There's a good chance you're going to break your thread and all that fun stuff. So, once again, if you look here, I did see a little question over there. There's my laser beam. So that, the red one, is my needle drop, needle center position, and my green one, this is how I like to have it set up on the Solaris. The green one is set right on a 1/4 inch, and that's how I get perfect 1/4 inch seams by utilizing this. Now, on like the Crescendo, the Chorus, the Altair, the Destiny, you would still have this green line, but they don't have the red. You don't get double lines. That's only on the Solaris. All of those other machines still have this one. And that's great because this is really the important one when piecing, is to keep the edges of that fabric lined up for that needle to get that 1/4 inch seam. Okay, so that all being said, now the fun part, we're getting close here. Next, we're going to lay out our other pieces. And get started on that. So, if I do it like this, you can maybe see how I'm doing this here. Okay. Just moving some stuff around a little bit so I have room. These are big blocks. Okay. So each of those will go in 4 corners right here. Okay. This is the very center. This fabric right here would be the very center. There we go. Check that out. It's got beautiful green and golds and rust in it. And then one of those with that gold, one of those will go there. That would go there. That one will go here. And this one would go right there. And then we'll have the matching lemony, light lemon to fill out that block. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to sew these two together right here. I'm going to do that twice. I'm going to do it 4 times actually. I'm going to back that up so you can see it all. There we go. Okay. And if you've never used that laser guide on your machine, if you have that on your machine, regardless of which machine you have, boy howdy. I remember when the Crescendo first came out, and it's the one that debuted with that. That's why I had to have one, because it makes a huge difference as a quilter in having accuracy in your seams. That part of these machines is, for me, is a must-have. If you don't have one of those on there, you can get a seam guide that'll help you get perfect 1/4 inch seams as well. Next Friday night, I'll do a block on the Accomplish because it has a different type of a seam guide on it. Okay, let's cut those apart. So we now have 4 of those units. I'm going to roller press them. Okay. There we go. I just like to keep my pieces laid out. That way I don't get an unwelcome surprise when I start setting all of this together. We've all been there and done that. I've had to rip out more times than I care to remember, but that's part of it. Okay. You can go right there. And this one, here we go. This one will go right in here. Let's open that up, get that seam pressed. Right there. So next I am going to sew this top unit. Move my camera over here. Next I'm going to sew this unit together. See right there? And then this is a unit. And then down here this is a unit as well. So now I have 3 rows I'm going to piece together. Okay. I'll go right there like that. And I noticed something. I wavered a little bit on that. So right here, I don't have a 1/4 inch seam because I let my fabric wiggle on me. So I'm just going to go over it again. If that happens, you do not have to rip anything out. Just go over it. So you have that perfect 1/4 inch seam. Here we go. Alrighty. And then these two will go together. Okay. Then these two will go together. This is the 3rd row right here. Right here like so. They're all nice and lined up. Okay. Oh, that's good. Those are all good. Yep, that worked really well. Okay. And that one would go there. And one more. Okay. And that would go right there. Yes. There's 3 more pieces, so we'll repeat that process one more time. There's the 3 units we just sewed together right there. Now I'm going to add that to there, this to here, and this one to here. And once after I make my first few stitches, that's when I line everything else up and I hold it in place with my fingers. Now, if I was having trouble lining stuff up, I would then proceed and start pinning stuff together. But these have set together fairly easily, and that's something I just really, truly didn't need to do on this particular block. Okay. And that step is done. Guess what? We have 2 more seam lines, and this block will be complete. And I am going to still press the seam. Here's the bottom third. And here will be the middle third. Or row number 2. If you don't talk about like this, there's row 3, here's row number 2. And here's row number 1. Okay. Doot, 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 doot. Okay. So this one, there's 1, 2, and 3. So I'm just going to flip that over. And there's my next seam. Right here. Now I'm going to have several seam lines to line up on this go round, this particular step. I'm just going to line up each seam as I come to it. There we go. There we go. A little extra bulk there, so I'll move it a little bit. Okay, let's see what that one looks like. Let's see, I gotta go over that again. Yep, right there at that conjunction. It did not want to go over that hump. So, oops, wrong one. There we go. We're just going to do a do-over there. I'm actually going to lengthen my stitch length up to 2. Because if you ever have that happen where there's a lot of bulk, and I have that stitch length really short, you can always elongate that stitch length for a problem area. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now I'm not going to rolly press it this time because it turned out nice. Yep. Yep. Okay. So there's that one. And this one will go right here like so. Here's the next seam, the last seam in this block. Okay. And it makes it easier to line up when you have this pieced half square triangle block and there's that corner. It's easier to line that corner up if you have a solid corner that's not pieced. It makes it, if you've seen me do this once or twice tonight, I flipped over the block because it makes it much easier to line it up like this than to try to line it up like this. See here? Can you do it? Of course you can. But you just get a much cleaner start if you put the piecing on the bottom and the solid fabric on top of it. There we go. Okay. Oh, bobbin thread, there's nothing. I'm going to baby this along because I think there's enough bobbin thread in that bobbin to finish this one seam. We're just going to find out. It's still stitching. And there we go. Alrighty. And we're going to lay this out over here and we'll get a good look at it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put it up on my design wall, and there it is. Let me angle that camera so it doesn't look so crooked up there. Okay, there we go. Woo-wee. But as you can see, there's a pinwheel in each corner, But where they all meet in the middle, it kind of makes a secondary design with that little 9 patch in the very center of it.